We will now call to order the Legislation Committee today on, what is today? November 9th. And let's take the roll. Sharita, please take it away.
Alderman Boyd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Muhammad.
There you go. Thank you.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Chairman Vollmer.
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
7 present, you have quorum.
Sharita, thank you very much. We'll move to approve the minutes from the last 2 meetings, November 3rd and November 4th. Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Alderman.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, entertain a second. Okay, Sharita, please take a roll call vote.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Chairman Vollmer.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
9 aye votes.
With your vote, you've approved the minutes of November 3rd and November 4th in the last 2 legislation hearings. We'll hold excuse Alderman until the end of the meeting. We'll proceed again, once again with Board Bill 101. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their comments and criticism. We've been receiving lots of that through the portal for the public hearings, which we'll be announcing a couple of more, hopefully at the end of today's or tomorrow's meeting. We're trying to set the dates up for early next week. And as we go through this process, once again, remember the first map we showed was a very rough draft, trying to keep neighborhoods as whole as possible. Just, showing it out there, trying to see what the neighborhoods look like and how large they were and what we had to do with them. We were aware that it was not mathematically correct or a map that would pass muster. It was just, again, a very rough draft as we go through this process. Now, as we've been meeting with aldermen on the committee and not on the committee through all this thing, we are getting a map that we will be showing today that does meet all the numerical deviations and also meets most of the racial balance, giving us 7 majority and 7 black wards and 7 majority white wards. So we're coming into compliance, and we will still be meeting with more aldermen after today's meeting. As why we have one scheduled tomorrow, because there might be changes to give the public a map that they can chew on for a few days, and then next week, hopefully Monday and Tuesday, or just Monday, with the long meeting, get some public input. But the portal is working very, very well. In fact, Mary on the staff has done a very good job. In our drive, there is a FAQ and FAQ sheet that answers probably about 98% of the questions that have been asked and given to us. So I would, encourage people to go to the drive and get those. We'll have them available on the website. It explains many of the questions that are asked over and over, the comments that are giving us over and over, explaining what we have to do, explaining why we're redistricting, because some people are asking why we're doing this, because it's required by federal law every 10 years. The one person, one vote, giving everybody, this is the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is driving our whole legal process. So why are we reducing? Some people believe that we're actually reducing wards through our own volition, that, this is something that we came up with to do, power grabs or to make the board more powerful. This was voted on in 2012. And why haven't we done anything since 2012? Because we need numbers to do that. It is very simple that we could have come up with all kinds of wards 5 years ago, but something like the Shaw neighborhood has almost flip-flopped completely in this racial balance since last census to this census, which would, there's no way. Typically, we would have these numbers in April. Due to the pandemic, we did not get them until September, the ward information that we needed. And we've been trying to get this all into compliance. And I believe we're getting to the point where we have a very, very good working map. We would love to have all rectangular wards, but following the neighborhoods, which is what our main intent is, trying to keep the neighborhoods as whole as possible. If you look at the neighborhoods on the map, some of these neighborhoods are crazy shaped. They're all over the place. So that's when you see little juts and things. That is due to the neighborhood, the way it's drawn. So we're trying to keep that in as best we can to keep neighbors, together, to keep wards contiguous and get into compliance. So with that, I'll turn over to the president if he has anything to add to that, and then we can go to the current version, the current draft of our map. Please take it away, sir.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for covering that. And to the over 160 people that have already responded in the portal, thank you to all of them and all of the people who have showed up at the meetings and let their voices be heard. And I appreciate it. And then also the committee members. And Mr. Chairman, I know you've been having a lot of marathon meetings with various different members.
Lucky I'm used to staying up late at night, so it's okay.
So with that, if you'd like me to share my screen and go through this current map, I can.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah, when we do this, we're going to show, I guess, versions where the wards without the neighborhood, so they can actually see those lines, and then go to adding the neighborhoods, and then actually, because the version we'll be putting out, you'll be able to get to the streets and things also. So people can get to that current. All right, sir. So take it away.
All right. So. Start out within Maptitude, then I'm going to take you to the version that the people will be able to see and browse through online. So first, to look at the wards without the neighborhoods is the part that you wanted to see.
No, I can't see it on my screen yet.
I'm doing it.
All right.
Now. Yeah.
I'm impatient like the public too.
There you go. There you go. I don't know. Can you all see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the wards without the neighborhoods, right? And in the dark blue lines. When we zoom in, you see the mapping data, the census block information, and the street names, and so on and so forth. The map that the public will see, and to your point, Mr. Chairman, a lot of times people ask about like funny shapes. So you see this shape here where it comes down in the point. If I turn the neighborhood layer on,
sure,
you can see these are the neighborhood boundaries. So Hyde Park neighborhood comes down into a point right here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you see the point. And then O'Fallon Park comes around and makes the back loop of that shape that you see that ward in, right?
Looks like a dog's head up there.
Yeah. And then O'Fallon neighborhood, it comes down that back area right here, as you see. So when you look at that shape, following this, following keeping neighborhoods together, you end up with, a shape like that. So hopefully people will understand that more when they see it, that, a lot of that is just keeping neighborhoods together. But if you look through these numbers, what we've been able to do is to keep a lot of these neighborhoods intact as much as possible. without violating the Voting Rights Act, 1965. So you see O'Fallon neighborhoods all together, College Hill, Fairgrounds Park for the most part, Hyde Park, the Ville down in this area, you begin to have to, split them up. Otherwise, if we kept all of this area here under one massive ward, you would be taking steps toward stacking or packing by putting every minority, all of the minority population into fewer amount of wards, so that ultimately the number of representatives that they can elect before that body would be a lesser number. In this current map, we've been able to draw a map where we have 7 minority preference wards and 7 non-minority preference wards, which keeps us in balance and keeps us in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. Now, the big thing that we work to achieve in this map is to ensure that we met the deviation numbers. And as all of the committee members know, and the people who watch the meeting and the media know, can remember, when we put the first working draft out, we noted and underscored the fact that the deviations were off in that first map intentionally. They were off because we had to, we were still working with some areas, specifically down in this Dutchtown, Bevo Mill area. You remember there's very high concentration of people who live down in these areas. So these areas, we really had to work hard to keep them intact as much as possible and still get our numbers in our deviation numbers right, correct. So what you have to meet is a plus and a minus number. So when you look at a 10% deviation, what that means is that if you take the lowest number, so the minus number, let's say, like, for example, in some of these wards, we have like in Ward D, minus 4.5. You take the lowest number, and then you take the highest number. And the difference between that lowest number and the total between that lowest number and the highest number, you want to keep it at a maximum of 10%, right? But if you're like 10.01 or 10.2 or something like that, you're probably still okay, but you want to really try to keep those within 10%. So again, so when you, here's an example. So if your lowest number is -2, your top number can be 8% above, because that would give you your total of 10%. So when you look at these numbers, like you see Ward B, we're at -4.59. And then if you go down here to one of our larger wards, you'll see them at like 5.06, 5.15, and so on and so forth. So now we have a map in front of us that meets the 1 person, 1 vote legal requirement. So that was our goal for this map. We're still, we've had to do a little more dividing in neighborhoods. Bevo, like for example, Bevo Mill, they did not want to be in 3 wards. They said, we want to, we don't want to be split up into 3 sections. We've been able to achieve that. So Bevo Mill now is split up in this map, this current working draft, into two wards. So we've been able to meet some of that. We've been able to, Southampton, they were very adamant, and a whole lot of comments came in about Southampton and them wanting to be consolidated into 1 neighborhood. And like Mr. Chairman, you laid out in the beginning and continue to underscore, we are going to do everything within our power to meet some of those recommendations that we're getting from the community. So this recommendation, we were able to do it without further separating Bevo Mill, Princeton Heights, Dutchtown, and some of those other areas. So we were able to achieve that and still keep our the number of minority preference wards intact. In this map, Dogtown is all intact, right? So you have, those neighborhoods all within one district now, right? So, that was another thing that we had heard about. We are continuing to work this area. There's some additional work that has to be done, down through all through this area so that we can create more compact districts up north. So that's the main thing that we're going to be working on for this next version, is to get a little more compactness going in these areas. So, one of the things that we talked about early on, but we didn't really dive into it very much, were the various different measures of compactness, because there are, like I said, there are, probably between a half dozen and a dozen formulas that can be used to measure compactness for redistricting. All of them are based on a variation of comparing the shape of the district that you have to that of a circle, because everybody is in agreement that the perfect measure of compactness is a circle. So how do you do that? Well, one of the ways is through measuring the length of the lines of the district, right? And the area that it encompasses with the length of the lines of a circle with that same area that the circle would encompass, and measure that difference to see if the lines within the district that you're measuring are, multiple times longer than that of the circle. Probably the most popular form that they use is a form called Polsby-Popper, and that we have the ability to run that report on these districts when we finish our final version, or even in the interim. So what we'll be doing is running those reports as we develop those districts to assure that all of the districts within that final map are in compliance with the measure of as many measures of compactness as we can get them in compliance with. That way, when we take it to court, or not, if anybody decides to take it to court, we're for sure that on the measure of compactness, we will be able to pass. We already know that we'll be able to pass, any measures dealing with gerrymandering, because we've been, every step along the way, we've been assuring that we're in compliance with the Voting Rights Act, and not drawing lines without regard to that, or drawing lines as to limit the minority populations within the city of St. Louis from having a voice before city government. So this kind of gives you this. Now, I want to share another screen with you to give you.
Mr. President, and part of it, if people don't understand why, if you look at most of those wards, the deviation is, at the almost at the 5% underneath. But there are less than 83,000 people that live in that area in North St. Louis.
Yes.
Is that correct? The population of 301,500 people, and less than 2/3 live north of Delmar. If the numbers I remember correct, it's like 83 or something off the top of my head. So that's why it's making it so difficult to rearrange. All the population is you have some wards with 16, 17,000 people, then you have some wards with 7,000 people.
Exactly. And to your point, Mr. Chairman, like if you take a look at just this neighborhood here, Central West End. Central West End is one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the city. I mean, thousands of people live within the Central West End neighborhood. And when you look just north of Central West End, this is Delmar Boulevard right here going through the Central West End. So when you look just north of Delmar, to be able to draw these wards so that we can assure that we have minority representation in the legislative branch of government, which is what we're doing here. It becomes really important that we look through these areas so that we can assure that representation. So like, for example, even in this area, if you look here, Central West End is mostly intact. This is the neighborhood boundary. This is the current ward boundary, right? All of this down through here, and when you go down to the downtown west area, those areas are subject to change because, again, we are beginning to look at meeting the measure of compactness now, which will dramatically impact some of these areas, I believe. But also, while we're doing that, working to keep these neighborhood boundaries intact, but neighborhood boundaries being intact isn't something that you end up getting a map thrown out and deemed illegal by the courts. But not adhering to the Voting Rights Act of 1965 does, not meeting the one person, one vote standard does. So those things are the legal, those things set the legal framework that we need to meet, which is what we will do. And we're going to take another big step toward it this week in the maps that we will release this week. But let me share another screen with you.
Okay. Yeah, because what people, if people say, why can't you, just move this over a little? Because as soon as you move that over, depending upon where it's at, you're taking away from or adding to somewhere else. So it's a constant, rebalance. If you just want to move, 2 blocks over, sometimes it's just, for the public watching, maybe people don't know that you just can't say, okay, let's just put this here, because what it does is it ruins something on the east, west, or north or south of that, and you have to go back in and refigure all the numbers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me So can everyone see this map?
Yes.
So the map that the public will see will be something very similar to this, right? If you look in there, you see the neighborhoods, like Carr Square, Old North St. Louis, Northampton, Southampton, Bevo, Dutchtown, areas like that, right? You also can, zoom in to the street level, South Grand and so on and so forth, to be able to take as detailed a look as you would like to see within the plan, have to make sure I continue to call it the draft plan.
Yes.
I don't want people to say, oh, you changed it. Well,
yeah.
So, but you'll be able to see that, landmarks and various different things like that, park areas and everything. So you'll be able to see all those things within the map within this draft map that the public will have access to. So a little later today, we'll publish a link for all of this. So that, any member of the public or members of the board or whatever will have an opportunity to drill down and, look at whatever they want to look at and understanding of what we're doing here, right? And then the other thing, so when you click these areas, so I'm gonna click, this district here. When I click that district, so that's district, that's district F. The total population in District F is 20,617. The number of white residents is 11,882. The number of African-American or Black residents, 4,026. American Indian, 43. Asian, 2,950, so on and so forth, right? And then you can go down here. And this is important to note, and I want to make sure that hopefully we can finally clear this up, because I know that a representative of the League of Women Voters continue to spread misinformation saying that the Board of Aldermen, we're basing all of our maps on population above 18 and disenfranchising minority children, which is, to me, is just, so outrageous that an organization or an individual connected to an organization like that would continue to spread those mistruths and those lies. And they have to know that it's untrue, because I know I've sent correspondence to them to clarify and ask them to stop. So you see the total population is 20,617 in this. The population above 18 is just a measurement or a number that categorizes this 20,000. So of this 20,617, 19,100 of them are population above 18. Of that population above 18, 11,118 of them are white. 3,648 of them are African American. So, but I guess what that person continues to do is to just read this population above 18 without regard to the fact that the total population is 20,000, right? So, I don't know if they're getting confused by the subset, but all of these subset, every other number below this. So you have the population of 20,617. Of that population, 20,617, 11,882 are white, 4,026 are African American, and so on and so forth, and breaks down to other races. And then when you get down further here, you can, breaks down to all the other subcategories, and so on and so forth. But the reason why that's so disturbing for me is because as an African American male who has worked his entire career to try to, assure equality for everyone, especially people who have been marginalized throughout our community, to make it seem like we're intentionally trying to disenfranchise African Americans, that is something that is just totally unacceptable to me. So I'm asking that person again to stop. I'm asking that person to read the numbers and to understand the numbers.
And these numbers are all given to us by the federal census. These are not numbers we've created. These numbers,
exactly.
They're the numbers that have been received. Every community throughout the United States has gotten a package from the federal government, as we have gotten ours. There's nothing special that we've been able to do to these numbers.
And it's just, so anytime you click on these districts, so you click on, like for example, this is District K that I just clicked on. There's 22,188 people there. Of those 22,188 people, 18,120 are white. 1,397 African American. You know, and then in District K and so on and so forth. So you can go through there and it'll have all of that information about the various different districts in there. All right. And then let me see. So that's that. So this will be live and made available for people to utilize at their leisure and to view. And then when we get a new one, the new one will replace this one, and we will continue to do that until we come up with a final map.
Yeah, because again, this is the second draft. Tomorrow, we're more than likely will have a third draft with some slight changes in it as we continue our meetings after this, the rest is this afternoon and this evening, and we'll present what hopefully will be close to the final product tomorrow. It will not be the final product, but I think it would be as close, very, very close version as our hope. And then that'll be available and we can chew on that, as I said earlier. And hopefully Monday we can get a public hearing schedule. I'll work with the clerk and your staff to get that done. And but the portal I've seen has been one of the best things we've done. It is really, the comments are coming through there, and it's allowed Mary and Tom to of your staff to gather these comments and to put together. I believe it's changing how we're doing the map. The Dogtown was part of what you said. Southampton was part. I know the people in West Hampton have after last night we received a lot of comments about that. We're working on that also. Or West Downtown, I'm sorry, Downtown West. I'm a little slap happy this morning. Sorry about that. I've been talking about this in my sleep. So
and I have some. I have some other things. So let me stop sharing that. Let me share another screen. So where is it at now? Was it there? So, also people were wanting to have the ability to do a quick download and print, right? So we also are publishing these plan books, right? A lot of the stuff our plan was to do it when we had the final map out, so that these drawings don't end up, being debated when they are old, when they were just working drawings. But we've decided to, request the chairman and also with the various different comments we got back, we've decided to, create a plan book. So this plan book will have all of the various different districts in here. So you can go and print and drill down and be able to see all the major streets like Arsenal, South Compton, and Morganford, and so on and so forth in these districts, and be able to also look at all of the population data. Like, for example, in District I, there are a total of 22,539 people that were counted in I, and that's based on the census block data that we received from the U.S. Census Bureau. The total deviation in this one is 998, right? The percent deviation is 4.63. What that means is that, remember, our perfect number was like
21,465, I believe. Just came from.
Good job, Mr. Good. Great job, Mr. Chairman. All right, so this 998 tells you how much over that number that is, and this percentage is the percentage that in reference to that, right? Of that total population, 61.71% are white, 4,974 are African American, African Americans represent 22.07% of this. American Indians, 78, and so on and so forth. You just keep going down. And then again, the population over 18. Reason this is important is because of the people that are represented under these numbers, African American and white, and American Indian, and so on and so forth. What percentage of them today are eligible to vote? And that's what this number represents, which is why it is one number that everyone across the nation references and looks at when they're drawing maps, because they want to assure if, for example, you're drawing an African-American preference ward, but let's assume for a second these numbers are flipped, and we'll look at one. Let's look at, let me see. So let's look at, here's a good one to look at. So District D is an African-American preference, is a minority preference ward, right? So the total population in District D is 20,582. The deviation is minus 959. The percent deviation is minus 4.45%. So what does that tell you? Again, Mr. Chairman, the ideal population is what?
It's 21,000, I think 465 or 5, right? 21,005 on top of my head.
Yep. There you go.
I need to know
There
the
you
cup of
go.
coffee to get that number right.
Yeah. So the difference in the total population and the ideal population, which is like 21,005, is a total of minus 959. So this number is 959 lower than the ideal population. That's what that tells you, which is why the percent deviation is a minus number, minus 4.5%. The number of white people that are represented in these numbers, based on the total number of 21,582, are 6,876. African American, 10,913. Again, 10,913 doesn't represent the total number. The total number is 20,000. Of that 20,000, 10,913 are African American. African Americans represent 53.02% of the total population. And then when you come down here, where are we at? Population, total population. All right, so the total population that is above 18 years of age. Now, if you want to know how many people under 18 years of age, you take the total population total population 18 years and older, which is 18,367. Then you would minus that from the 20,582, and you'll know how many people under 18 were counted in this ward in those numbers. The percent population of the people that live in that ward, this ward, Ward D, that are over 18 years of age is 89.24%. So of that total population of 20-some thousand people, 89.24% are 18 years of age or older, right? So the balance between the difference between this 89.24 and 100%, that balance, that percentage would represent the people under 18 years of age, which obviously is counted in these numbers. Otherwise, the total population would not be 20,582. Total population would be 18,367. So walking down, so when you come down, the number of people 18 years of age or older, in terms of white population within Ward D would be 6,685. That would represent 32.48% of this total population. The number of African Americans represented in this ward that are 18 years or older is 9,143. And that represents 44.43% of this total number. So when we look at building minority preference wards, we want to make sure that we check both numbers. Because if you look at this, you end up with roughly a 12% difference between the two in terms of African American white population. But you have a 20% difference up here in total population. So those numbers can change dramatically when you're looking at over 18 versus under 18. So even though every single district that we have built through the city of St. Louis, and again, across the country, I want people to understand when people are spreading false information, how to look at these numbers, that this is our total population within the ward. That number includes people above 18 and people under 18. But if you truly want to assure that when people go to vote, that there is enough of a minority population within those districts to elect a person of their choice, you have to look at the above 18 number in conjunction with the total population also, because you can see there in some cases could be a dramatic change, because you would think that, this being a 20% spread, that you would see the same spread when you look above 18, but they change dramatically. You end up with only a 12% spread when you look down lower. So that's how you read these numbers. And one more time, since we've had to talk about this for a week, hopefully after today, the person from League of Women Voters will watch this video and please correct what she's been putting out, the misinformation she continues to put out. So 18,367, population 20,582. You subtract those two numbers and you'll see the people that are under 18, because this represents just the people over 18. This represents everybody that the Census Bureau counted within that district. If you want a minority preference ward, you first want to meet this measure here, that the total population, when you're looking at total population, this total population, the majority of that population is indeed of that minority group. And in this case, it is by 20%. But you also have an opportunity to, and I would recommend you look at the voting age population to see if indeed those numbers did not flip when you end up going down the scale and drilling deeper into the numbers. So we've been very careful to make sure that we stay in compliance and checking every single box we need to check along the way. So people will be able to print these at will. There was also a person that said they would like it if the city could provide printed copies of all the maps and things of that nature. So Mr. Chairman, my recommendation to you is—
Is there a cat in that room?
Excuse me?
Is there a cat in that room? You look like I know you're allergic to cats.
Maybe, maybe, yeah, I'm starting to get itchy. So one of the things that if you would like to do, you could and if there's enough resources at, you know, at in the clerk's office, the clerk could, if someone through the portal says, I would like a printed copy, or if someone calls the office, for example, and says, hey, I'd like a print, because if they're in the portal, they should be able to just print their own. But if someone calls and says, hey, I really would like a printed copy of this draft map.
We have constituents who still don't, use their computers or use the portals and things like that. So yeah, I would put that on the website. Please call the clerk's office for a printed copy, or use the portal to download one. Yes. Yeah, and then also each individual alderperson. I know one thing for a fact: every single alderperson has access. So every single alderperson, if there are people within, if they want people within their wards to get a printed copy of these draft maps, or if they want every person in their ward to get a printed copy of these draft maps, they could download, they can find a resource that would print them, and they can get them distributed out if that's what they'd like to do. And then this is just another copy, another different version. This one actually has some of the census block numbers in it. This is a much more difficult format to get printed out because of the space requirements for all of the census block numbers. So if you drill down in there, you can see that, the bigger the number gets, the more difficult it is to get it within some of these spaces and still get this on the page. But we have those also, some of those also. And I think that gets it for it. That okay. Takes care of it. Yeah. The major problem with our shape of our city, it looks like an esophagus going into a stomach. So because we follow the riverfront there, we're dealing with. So trying to get squares and things is hard, but we're doing our best. What I'll do now is I'll go through the committee real quick, see if they have any questions of you while we're both here, and then. Alderman Boyd, any questions or comments of the presentation? Alderman Boyd, still with us? Okay, well, Alderwoman Davis.
No questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Alderman Vaccaro.
Just a simple one. Mr. President, you said that if you wanted your whole ward to get a printed map, is that going to fall on the alderman to pay for all that? Or is there going to be a resource available, and can the city company print these things?
Yeah, I would think that if alderman wants to get these draft maps out to everybody in their ward, I think we have to leave that up to each alderman to figure that out. These draft maps. These draft maps are just
11,000 maps. I think it would be, you'd be sending they can go to the website and download it, or you could let them know, Alderman Vaccaro, that there's a resource for them to download it themselves. I don't think we're all going to be making 11,000 plus copies and driving around mailing them and handing them out. In today's world, the electronic message system should work for most, I'd say 80 to 90% of the constituents.
Well, I know. I mean, I think because it was brought up. Well,
just a suggestion, not a mandate, just a suggestion.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Alderman Vaccaro. Yeah, that was a suggestion. Because remember, these maps are changing regularly because these are all just draft versions going up to this, walking up to the final. But if
I mean, what would go through my mind would be, why can't we have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of these maps printed from the city, and then just put them in grocery stores, and just, not any particular area, just throughout the city, kind of space them out in grocery stores. People go to the store, just to say that we have printed copies out there for those that, so there's nobody that says that they do not have the opportunity to see what the map looked like.
By the time we would print them out and deliver them to grocery stores, the map will have changed. We are,
Sure.
you know, we're this map, this draft, we're gonna have another draft out this week. And if we did a 1,000 for, 1,000 of each ward, that'd be like, 14,000 copies. And then
I'm
if you
sure.
put 10 in each.
Prefer we don't print all those without specific place for them to go. I would,
Yeah.
It
recommend.
was just, I mean, it's not anything that, it was just to try to answer my thoughts to answer the skeptics or the people that said not everybody has a computer.
No, I believe
just
that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure, sure just like last time, the Post-Dispatch will certainly post this in their, the last time we put a map out, it was posted in the newspapers. It'll be available on the website. And we're trying to make, but to go out and, just to print
Oh, sure.
14 or 15,000 flyers and put them in stores, because if we did that with this map, tomorrow we're probably gonna have a different map.
No, yeah,
and-
you know what? What you brought up made sense. It'll be in the Post. So it's gonna be in every grocery store and everybody, so no, so
And
that
also-
answers the question.
Okay,
And
All right,
also, I
thank
think, can I say one thing also, Mr. Chairman? And also, I think we can't ignore the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that there's an active campaign being waged against this process and what we're trying to do right now. Like the letters to the editor from one of the groups that is helping to push Prop R. They need to work with everything they have to discredit whatever we do. So as we move along, like for example, even what we present today, they are going to find a way to just say that it is horrible and it's the worst process that they've ever seen related to redistricting and stuff. So those things are going to happen because we have a active opponent working daily to work to discredit us. That same group has said nothing about St. Louis County because they do not have a measure on the ballot in St. Louis County to try to take control of the process like they do in the city. So that's part of the elephant in the room. And to your point, Alderman Vaquero, one of the things, I like what you said, because what you said was we need to, take all these extra steps just to, assure that that we've met every measurable thing that we can, but also limiting some of that misinformation that they, limiting their ability to just continue to put misinformation out or to try to demonize the process and what we're going through to try to get a good, fair map put in place. So I appreciate and understand, and you're correct in that.
Well, I just put it out there, because it's a fair map. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not thrilled with the way, I would love to have seen a map drawn a little bit more favorable to me, but it's not, it's a fair map. You have to fit it, in what's legal and what's right. I mean, my ward basically got cut into two, where Southampton, Northampton and Lindenwood got split in two and thrown up into, and I would say that's not my most favorable, but it's a fair map. And what nobody gets is these are not maps drawn aldermen against each other. This is a blank slate. There are no aldermen in these areas. Anybody can run. It's an open election. It's a very fair map. I would love to draw a more favorable map up for me, but that's not how it works. But thank you. For the people they're saying, but you're right, it'll be in the Post.
all right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman Kodar, I don't believe he's with us. Alderwoman Boyd. Any comments, Alderwoman Boyd? No? Alderman Muhammad. No, there
Yes,
she-
sir.
Alderman
Yes,
Muhammad.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please proceed. You got an echo.
I know, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was wanting to comment and say that I want people to understand as a community, as a board of aldermen, this is a challenging job for us. And so it's not where, as Alderman Vacar says, everybody's gonna be happy. And so we probably just need to take a deep breath, block out the noise, because from the president's office to the legislative committee, we have worked tirelessly on this. And so it's not where, it's just like on the job, everybody's not gonna be happy. Some people are gonna be okay and some people are not. And so we just have to take each day as it comes, and providing the information is fine. But as you said, Mr. Chair, that we're going to be changing the map continuously. So to me, that would not be beneficial. They could rely on the Post-Dispatch to give them what we have presented, and we can keep looking at the portal to ask that people consider what the residents have asked for. So on that note, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderwoman. All right, Alderman Muhammad, are you still with us?
I am. I have no comments or questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to applaud the hard work that you and the president and the staff have done to get to this iteration of the map. I'm encouraged by this iteration because I think it squarely fits within the legal requirements that are needed, right? Those have always been the guideposts, is that we stay within the legal requirements, and we take the obligation that's bestowed to us from the Constitution to draw a map where the deviations and the populations are balanced. So that's encouraging that we've got to this point, quite frankly, in early November. So it's a good first step. Now, to your point, I think we need to dig in a little bit more to make sure that it works for neighborhoods, that it works for the taxpayer, so that ensuring that neighborhoods have access, and neighborhood groups and those citizens who participate in local government will have access to their local representative, will have access to the police districts, and other nuanced, I think, matters that the everyday citizen is going to care about. So I look forward to that next iteration where we can maybe enhance this a little bit better, but it feels like it's in really good shape. And I do want to thank the committee and again, the chairman and president to this point.
All right, thank you, sir. Alderwoman Martin, are you with us? Okay. Alderwoman Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the momentum on this map, and that we do have something where the numbers work out legally. I think that's number one. So I definitely appreciate those improvements. And I also see how this map responds to a lot of the feedback that we've heard already. So I appreciate that as well. I don't know if we've had an attorney do the Voting Rights Act analysis with these numbers. I appreciate that we're looking at all those. I know it's extremely complicated. So I would just urge that we do either involve our attorney or the city councilor's office, or somebody, just in terms of making sure we get that analysis right.
I believe we have the RFP out. We're going to be hiring an outside specialist in this area to once we get what we believe to be our final version, hopefully early next week, that then we'll have it looked at. Yes, we definitely are going to cross. We're going to cross all the T's, dot the I's, and put the little squigglies wherever they need to go to. Whatever we need to do is going to be done.
Great, thank you. And then the last thing I'll just say is if we have the hearing on Monday, the sooner that we all can get that information out to our constituents, the better. So I look forward to hearing the details on that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Alderman. Okay, Alderwoman Middlebrook, are you with us? All right, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I just, again, want to say, I guess we're moving and continuing to massage this. I know that all of us are hearing from our constituents and hearing from our neighborhoods, making rounds to the neighborhood organizations and The thing that I continue to hear is about the Delmar divide, and I'm sure I see some comments that were added to the drive today about that, and making sure that we pull communities together that not only are already working together, but can work together to move and spur development and engagement and things forward in their communities and in their neighborhoods. So thank you for listening. I'm gonna say that I've been listening. I think we've all been listening and doing our due diligence. As it relates to printing out maps, add me to the list. If you need a map and you need to print it out, I've done it for my constituents prior to this, and of course we'll continue to. Or if we would like to get together, I think that we can make time where we can sit down around a computer if you don't have access to the computer, because people are engaged, even if they don't have this kind of access that we have. They are definitely engaged, and I hear from them. So thank you for continuing to move this forward, and I'll be looking for the link later on so that I can start to share it.
All right, thank you very much, Alderwoman. And Mr. President, anything before I would close the meeting? Anything that you've heard there that you might want to comment on, sir?
No, I just want to continually just thank everybody that's been working so hard on this. Mr. Chairman, I am just so thankful for your ground level engagement. You really stepped up on this. And it's going to take everybody putting their shoulder to the wheel and setting their own personal desires aside for the greater good. And thanks for the residents that left comments that were done in a way that we can take out of that comment a nugget of something to be able to utilize to guide us in this process. And I said at a neighborhood meeting last night, look, I get it if you want to blow off steam, like when we have the next round of hearings, if a resident is just angry or upset or mad about something and they want to take that time to blow off steam, I get it, I understand it. But if during that time that they have to put in place some information that we can use, take that few minutes to blow off steam, reserve that last 30 seconds or a minute to give us something that we can use to guide us along the way. Our charge is to get a map done by December 31st, 2021. And that's what this committee and the Board of Aldermen, that's what we're doing. And that's what we will continue to work on. And to the opponents, if you are pushing people to show up at these meetings, and ultimately what you want to see is a good map, also ask those people that you're asking to show up at the meeting to deliver some information that will lead us to a good map. Things like people said that they'd like to see some more areas across the Delmar divide connected in single wards to begin to eliminate that Delmar divide. That's great information, right? And by putting that into this whole dialogue, that's going to change the outcomes of what we're doing. That's just one example, but thanks to everybody that has participated in the community meetings. Thanks to all the aldermen, and thanks so much to you, Mr. Chairman, and all the staff for getting us to this point. This next week is going to be collapsed. We have a lot of work to do across this next week. So if you get calls or whatever from myself or the chairman, we're reaching out to you to get information.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And there's some other things we were talking about that we're trying to put on the website. One of the things is currently, I believe Tom's working on it, is with our current breakdown of 28 wards, the amount of neighborhoods that are so fragmented, and what we're doing with this new version with the 14 wards to keep neighborhoods intact. I believe in the one ward, we actually have 8 complete neighborhoods. Many wards have 4 complete, 2, whatever makes the population. Because I know it can be frustrating to go to a neighborhood meeting and have 2 or 3 aldermen sitting there and have to sit through their presentations. So we're trying to narrow all of this down. That's the number one thing I heard when people found I was chairing this is neighborhoods, neighborhoods, neighborhoods. I think we're being successful in that. We're trying our best, but then we also have to make the racial parity and the numbers and the deviations work. We have some more work to do on that, and I look forward to that. This is, again, a map that we'll have a meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Hopefully it'll be about the same time, maybe a little shorter, to show whatever changes we are going to be doing overnight tonight as we talk with more aldermen. So I thank you all for your time, and some of you are probably tired of talking to me, but I will, we will take care of that, and we will excuse the absent alderman for necessary absence.
Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't purple enough today.
You know, I just have to speak up because on what you just said, Mr. Chairman, because and understand that I know that things are different from side to side in this city. But actually what you said about not having multiple aldermen in 8 aldermen, that's a different story. But meetings that I went to just last night, people were actually happier about being able to work. When you have all the people that work together in communities and neighborhoods to bring it, it's not an issue and it's not a barrier. So I just want to make sure I speak up for them, because last night they were adamant about, we want to stay connected. We want to move across these lines and these barriers. And when you have 2 good alder people or 3 good alder people that are working collectively for a neighborhood, I think that kind of trumps the whole draw the line and keep the neighborhood separated. Because again, that's something that people actually look down upon on this side and around the areas that I represent. So again, I think people need to focus on the fact that some of us might not even run. It's not about any of us personally. It's about when these lines are drawn, making sure that you work with your communities to get good alder people, 14 good alder people together and in place to be able to represent and advocate for their communities, their neighborhoods, and the city as a whole. So I just wanted to say that because again, I know it's different from side to side.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And that's why we're all been going through this process. You know, when we get the comments, you know, many comments are keep this neighborhood whole, keep this neighborhood whole. And the ones that don't say that, I'm assuming they have no problem with being divided in half. So, you know, we're working that way. And to the point you made, you know, as we stated earlier, this map, while it will be finalized at the end of this year, will not go into effect until 2023 after the election process. For all of those who've run for office for many years, you know, our decision typically comes, you know, next year when we have to get involved and do we sign up and run again or not. What, you know, the intent here is of this committee, as we've stated many times, is to build the best map we can, not for us, but for the city of St. Louis for the next 10 years in the census to see what happens. As I stated earlier, you know, why didn't you draw this map 5 years ago? Again, and the Shaw neighborhood is just the biggest neighborhood that completely flip-flopped, you know, for the racial balance was how we could have drawn a map that would not been, we would have just been wasting time. So, you know, we got the information, we're putting it to work. And I believe everyone, even people who might be against us doing this, should take a look at this map and then maybe engage us and look, because I think the bottom line shouldn't be their side or our side. It's for the city of St. Louis and the future of the city. I spent my whole life here, and I believe that, you know, there's nowhere else I would want to live. I've had a great time. I plan on living a little longer. So I'd like to see the city go on and improve. You know, we're at that precipice where, you know, with North St. Louis going on this whole rebirth with NGA, with the soccer stadium, connecting things. We are part of a group that has a chance to actually, you know, be a little more foresighted than the people, you know, that created this great divorce of the city, you know, way back when. We're in the same spot they are. So let's, you know, learn by everyone else's mistakes and create something that you know, we can be proud of. And actually the opponents of this might be able to look at it and say, hey, that's not too bad, but I'd like to see this, you know, call us. That's why we're here. You know, if there's something you can say to improve this map, instead of trying to fight it, let's work together. This is a chance of a lifetime right now for everyone to engage. With that, if there's no further comment, I appreciate everyone's time and energy towards this project, and we will excuse the absent alderman for necessary absence. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a
Move to
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Entertain a second.
I'll be the second. So
All right, that's your best place, sir.
that was, it is usually third or fourth.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you very much. We'll adjourn to tomorrow, the 10th of November at 11 a.m. See everyone then. Thank you so much.